Comedian Chris Rock recently set the internet ablaze with a stand-up routine that took aim at former President Donald Trump, delivering a performance so sharp and hilarious that it quickly became a cultural moment. Within hours of hitting the airwaves, the clip racked up an astonishing 5 million views across platforms, cementing its status as a viral sensation. What made this particular set stand out? From the opening line, Rock had the crowd in stitches, masterfully likening Trump's time in the White House to something you'd see on a chaotic reality TV show. Think less West Wing and more Survivor, but with higher stakes and worse hair. The audience couldn't get enough, erupting into laughter as Rock painted a picture of Trump as a larger-than-life character who'd stumbled into the presidency like a contestant vying for screen time. The brilliance of Rock's approach lay in how he took Trump's carefully crafted image, often projected as a tough, no-nonsense leader, and flipped it on its head. With razor-sharp wit, he transformed the former president into a punchline, poking fun at the absurdity of his leadership style. It wasn't just a roast, it was a comedic takedown that resonated deeply, striking a chord with viewers who'd long seen Trump as a figure ripe for satire. Within 12 hours, the clip had been shared over 2 million times, a testament to its immediate impact. Social media, especially Twitter, exploded with activity as fans and meme creators jumped in, turning rock singers into a tidal wave of digital content. Hashtags popped up, GIFs circulated, and suddenly Trump wasn't just a politician, he was the star of an online comedy frenzy. Rock's delivery was key. He didn't just tell jokes, he unleashed a barrage of observations that felt both spontaneous and meticulously crafted. Picture this, a packed room, the energy electric, and Rock packing the stage, dropping lines that hit like lightning bolts. He didn't hold back, leaning into the ridiculousness of Trump's persona with a grin that said, "Can you believe this guy?" The result was a performance that didn't just entertain, it sparked a movement. People weren't just laughing, they were sharing, retweeting, and remixing, making sure everyone got in on the fun. By morning, the internet was flooded with memes, from clever one-liners to photoshopped images of Trump in reality show scenarios, all inspired by Rock's fearless commentary. This wasn't just a win for comedy, it was a masterclass in how humor can cut through the noise of politics. Chris Rock took a figure who dominated headlines for years and turned him into the butt of a joke so good it spread like wildfire. 5 million views later, it's clear, when Rock talks Trump, the world listens and laughs. Chris Rock didn't just stop at surface-level jabs in his viral takedown of Donald Trump. He went deep, zeroing in on the former president's most glaring vulnerabilities with the precision of a comedic sniper. One of his sharpest angles, Trump's string of financial misfires, headlined by the spectacular collapse of his Atlantic City casino empire. Rock stood on stage, incredulous, and laid it out for the crowd. How do you even manage to tank not one, not two, but 6 casinos in a town built for gambling? It's the kind of failure so absurd it sounds like a punchline before the joke even lands. With his signature blend of disbelief and sarcasm, Rock spun it into comedy gold, marveling at how someone could fumble a business where the house is supposed to always win. The audience ate it up, howling as he painted Trump as a guy who'd somehow turned a sure bet into a historic bust. And the kicker? It's all true. Forbes has documented those 6 major bankruptcies, a fact Rock wielded like a sledgehammer to smash through Trump's self-styled image as a business genius. But Rock wasn't done. He pivoted from dollars to downright weirdness, dragging some of Trump's most head-scratching moments into the spotlight. Remember that time in 2019 when Trump grabbed a Sharpie and doodled on a hurricane map, trying to prove the storm was headed where he said it would? Rock brought it back, miming the scene with a grin that screamed, "Who does that?" The crowd roared as he replayed the absurdity of a president playing amateur meteorologist, Sharpie in hand, defying science on live TV. Then there was the 2017 solar eclipse, Trump shades off, staring straight into the sun like a kid testing a dare. Rock didn't need to exaggerate, the image alone was comedy dynamite, and he lit the fuse, letting the ridiculousness speak for itself. These weren't just gaffes, they were windows into a mind so unpredictable they begged to be laughed at. The internet couldn't resist. That Sharpie bit, it sent Google into overdrive, with searches for Trump Sharpie spiking 300% in a single day as people raced to relive the chaos. Rock's riff turned those moments into cultural touchstones, replayed and remixed across social media. Picture Twitter threads dissecting the hurricane fiasco, or memes of Trump squinting at the sun with captions like, "When your ego outshines reality." Rock didn't just mock Trump, he handed the world a playbook to do it too. By shining a light on the bankruptcy's and bizarre antics, he stripped away the polished veneer, leaving a bumbling, Sharpie-wielding caricature in its place. It was savage, it was smart, and it was exactly what made the whole set stick. When Rock digs into Trump's flops and flubs, he doesn't just entertain, he rewrites the narrative one laugh at a time. Chris Rock's comedic assault on Donald Trump didn't just light up the stage, it set off a chain reaction that reached the man himself and even dragged Melania Trump into the fray. Picture Trump hunched over his phone, thumbs flying as he fired off a furious rebuttal on Truth Social, his go-to digital megaphone. Rock's jabs had clearly struck a nerve, and Trump wasn't about to let it slide. In a post dripping with indignation, he branded Rock disrespectful and not funny, a classic Trumpian counterpunch aimed at dismissing the comedian's biting critique. But here's the thing, the internet didn't care what Trump thought. While he stewed, the online world was already running wild with Rock's material, turning his performance into a meme factory that churned out content faster than you could refresh a feed. Far from dousing the flames, Trump's outburst only fanned them, proving once again that his famously thin skin was no match for a well-aimed zinger. The more he raged, the more the crowd, both in the room and online, lapped it up, reveling in the spectacle of a former president rattled by a stand-up routine. Then there was Melania, caught in the crossfire of Rock's relentless humor. She wasn't even the main target, but somehow she ended up stealing part of the spotlight. Rock's set had a way of pulling in everyone around Trump, and Melania, with her icy public persona, became an unexpected co-star. The internet seized the moment, dusting off old clips of her swatting away Trump's hand during public appearances, those awkward viral snippets that had long fueled speculation about their dynamic. Thanks to Rock's performance, those videos roared back to life, spreading like wildfire across platforms. Within 24 hours, searches for Melania Trump skyrocketed by an insane 450% as people couldn't resist revisiting the frosty exchanges between the former first couple. Imagine the scene, Twitter timelines flooded with slow-motion replays of Melania's hand-dodging, captioned with quips like, "When even your wife's done with the show." Rock didn't need to say much about her, her own past moments did the talking, amplified by his comedic chaos. The contrast was delicious. Trump, fuming and typing in all caps, couldn't stop the tidal wave of mockery. Melania, silent but suddenly everywhere, became the unwilling poster child for the fallout. Rock's set had turned their reactions into sideshow, and the public couldn't look away. Trump's anger only made the memes hit harder, while Melania's icy sidestepping added a layer of unintended hilarity. It was a 1-2 punch. Rock swung, Trump flailed, and Melania dodged, both literally and figuratively. By the end of it, the internet had crowned Rock the winner, leaving the Trumps as the stars of a comedy they never signed up for. When Bill Maher took the stage to dissect Donald Trump's economic legacy, he didn't just throw punches, he dropped a wrecking ball on the myth of Trump as an economic savior. Maher's critique was a masterclass in cutting through the hype, exposing a presidency that promised prosperity but delivered chaos. He kicked things off with a jaw-dropping stat. The stock market had hemorrhaged $5 trillion in just 3 weeks under Trump's watch. 3 weeks. That's not a dip, that's a nosedive, and Maher didn't let it slide. With his trademark smirk, he skewered Trump's knack for spinning disaster into gold, calling him a magician who made success appear where only illusions lived. The national debt, it ballooned by a staggering $7.8 trillion in 4 years, a number so big it's hard to wrap your head around. Maher laid it bare while Trump strutted around boasting about the greatest economy ever. The numbers told a story of reckless spending and empty promises. Then came the tax cuts, Trump's 2017 signature move sold as a lifeline for the middle class. Maher ripped that narrative to shreds. He pointed out the cold, hard truth. 83% of those cuts went straight to the top 1%, leaving everyday Americans with crumbs. Corporate tax rates got slashed from 35% to 21%, and what did companies do with the windfall? Stock buybacks, not pay raises. Jeff Bezos got richer, CEOs cashed out, and the middle class, stuck staring at rising costs with wallets no fatter than before. Maher's zinger hit home. By 2027, those same middle-class folks will actually owe more in taxes, a slow-burn betrayal dressed up as a gift. The audience groaned not just at the unfairness, but at how Trump had sold it with a salesman's grin, all while the fine print screwed over the people he claimed to champion. The trade war was the final nail in the coffin. Trump pitched his tariffs as a shield for American jobs, but Maher called it what it was, a self-inflicted wound. Manufacturing jobs didn't boom, they shrank. Farmers watched billions evaporate as China stopped buying their crops, and businesses jacked up prices to offset the mess, sticking consumers with the bill. It's like burning your house down and calling it a heating plan, Maher quipped, and the crowd erupted. GDP growth. A measly 2.3%, trailing Obama's 2.9%. Trump, perfect economy was a roller coaster, wild swings, no safety net, and a fat bonus for the billionaires riding in first class. Maher didn't just critique, he dismantled, showing how Trump's economic playbook mirrored his failed ventures. Airlines, steaks, casinos, all hype, no substance. By the end, the stage was littered with the wreckage of Trump's boasts, and Maher stood tall, proving that the real cost of Trump's economy wasn't just dollars, it was the trust of a nation sold a shiny lie. The once cozy bond between the US and Canada took a sharp turn into rocky territory, and Donald Trump's fingerprints are all over the mess. It started with a bombshell. Trump, never one to shy from stirring the pot, tossed out a public nod to Canada's current government, picking sides in a way that sent shockwaves through Canadian politics. Imagine the scene, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's camp fuming, Liberals blinking in surprise, and the whole country buzzing with debate. Why now? What's Trump playing at? The timing couldn't be worse, with Canada's election looming and tensions already simmering. His offhand remark wasn't just chatter, it was a match tossed into a dry field, igniting questions about how U.S. influence might sway Canada's future. Suddenly, a routine diplomatic relationship felt like a high-stakes chess game, and no one knew the next move. But the real story was unfolding at the border. In February 2024, a staggering 500,000 fewer Canadians crossed into the U.S. compared to the year before, tourism numbers crashing to their lowest since the 2022 pandemic fog lifted. Places like New York and Michigan, usually buzzing with Canadian shoppers, felt the chill, and it wasn't just about travel. Sales of American goods in Canada tanked by 6%, while Canadian-made products started flying off the shelves. Picture Canadians swapping their usual cross-border hauls for homegrown brands, a quiet rebellion brewing over coffee and maple syrup. Then came the U.S. big swing, new tariffs on Canadian imports set to kick in on April 2. Agriculture and manufacturing braced for the hit, as goods like lumber and grain faced a steeper climb to stay competitive. Canada's response was swift. Foreign Minister Melania vowed to shield jobs and the economy, election year or not. But the loudest answer came from the people, who tightened their wallets and turned inward. It didn't stop there. Canada's eyeing a bigger shift, flexing its muscles beyond trade. Words out there chatting with the EU, hunting for defense deals to loosen the U.S. grip. The F-35 fighter jet deal with America, on the chopping block with Sweden's sleek Gripen jets looking like a tempting swap. Why the pivot? Trump's unpredictable trade moves made relying on the U.S. feel like a gamble Canada can't afford. Stronger ties with Europe could mean more control over their own military fate, a bold step for a nation long tethered to its southern neighbor. From fewer tourists to potential defense realignment, this isn't just a spat, it's a slow unraveling. Trump's meddling lit the fuse, but Canada's response, less U.S., more self, hints at a new chapter. The border's still there, but the bridge, it's creaking and the cracks are starting to show. Tesla, once the untouchable titan of electric vehicles, is teetering on the edge of a cliff, and the numbers paint a grim picture. In less than 6 months, the company's market value has cratered, shedding nearly $800 billion, a loss so massive it's hard to fathom for any business, let alone one that redefined an industry. The stock took a brutal beating, plunging over 50%, with one day alone slicing off 15% and after-hours trading kicking it down another 3%. Investors who once saw Tesla as a golden goose are now staring at a cracked egg, wondering if the dream has run out of juice. What happened to the juggernaut that promised to electrify the world? The answer's a mix of market punches and self-inflicted wounds, starting with a seismic shift in China, the planet's biggest EV playground. Beijing hit Tesla hard, cranking up import taxes on its cars from 15% to 25%, a move that jacked up prices on high-end models like the Model S and X suddenly. A Model 3 at $43,000 looks like a luxury next to BYD's Han EV at $30,000, same tech, lower sticker. Chinese buyers, ever practical, started flocking to homegrown brands like BYD and NIO, which racked up 1.2 million sales in 2023 while Tesla limped to 350,000. That's a market share gut punch, 25% for BYD, a fatting grip for Tesla. The tariffs didn't just hike costs, they exposed Tesla's reliance on imported parts, a vulnerability rivals dodged with local supply chains. Back in the US, Tesla's dominance slipped from 79% in 2020 to 54% in 2023, and Europe's even bleaker, with sales down 30%. Competition's eating Tesla's lunch, and the once shiny innovator badge is starting to tarnish. Then there's Elon Musk, Tesla's lightning rod CEO. His political rants, love them or hate them, have sparked a customer revolt. Picture loyal buyers once proud to roll up in a Tesla now hesitating because Musk's latest tweet storm clashes with their values. It's not just optics, it's loyalty leaking away drop by drop. Rivals like Rivian and Lucid aren't just stealing market share, they're grabbing the hearts Tesla used to own. The stock's freefall mirrors the mood. Investors who bet big are jittery, spooked by rising production costs and softening demand. That $800 billion wipeout isn't a blip, it's a warning. Tesla's still pumping out cars, but the magic's fading, squeezed by taxes, rivals, and a CEO who can't stop stirring the pot. This isn't game over yet. Tesla's got tech and name recognition, but the road's getting rougher. China's turning inward, the US and Europe are crowded with contenders, and Musk's megaphone keeps alienating fans. The electric dream's still alive, but Tesla's not driving it unchallenged anymore. The question hangs heavy. Can it steer out of this tailspin, or is the king of EVs about to lose its crown? On March 15, 2025, a bombshell dropped in the U.S. Federal Register. An order signed with Donald Trump's name, greenlighting the deportation of nearly 300 Venezuelans labeled extremists under a dusty old law, the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. This wasn't some backroom whisper. It was official, ink-on paper stuff, sparking instant uproar. Trump's signature stared back at the world, bold and unmistakable, alongside a date and a mission to boot out people he called threats. But 5 days later, he threw a curveball, claiming he didn't sign it. Other people handled that, he shrugged to the press, acting like he'd stumbled into a plot twist he didn't write. The White House, though, doubled down. Spokesperson Caroline Leavitt swore Trump had personally approved it, touting it as a strike against terrorism. So what's the deal? A signed document says one thing, Trump says another, and 300 lives hang in the middle of the muddle. The law itself is a relic, last dusted off during World War II when the US was at war. Real declared war. Fast forward to 2025, no war, no emergency, just Trump crying invasion and criminals to justify the move. But who got swept up? Not just gangsters, soccer coaches, asylum seekers with papers, even teens and women with zero rap sheets. Some got tagged as threats for sporting Real Madrid tattoos or flashing peace signs in selfies. No trials, no lawyers, no chance to fight back. They were just gone, shipped to detention camps in El Salvador with barely a whisper of oversight. Critics screamed foul. This wasn't safety. It was a power grab, exploiting a legal loophole older than anyone's grandma. In a D.C. courtroom, Judge Jib Boasberg grilled the Justice Department. Why no process? The answer, a shrug and a we just followed orders. The system's gears kept turning, but no one on the switch. Trump's denial kicked into overdrive. He floated the idea of an autopen, a machine signing his name, hinting at some shadowy stand-in. Who signs big stuff like that with a robot? He mused, deflecting like a pro. It's a playbook he's run before. Act, let allies hype it, then dodge when the heat rises. He even name-dropped Marco Rubio, tossing blame like a hot potato. Meanwhile, families of the deported waited in silence, some never hearing back. The media spun wild, signature versus denial, law versus ethics, and the public scratched their heads. Was it a mistake, a misfire, or a calculated flex, testing how far rules could bend? The paper trail says Trump. Trump says no way. What's clear is the fallout. 300 people vanished into a gray zone, and the truth still playing hide and seek. This isn't just policy, it's a mystery wrapped in a power play, and the stakes are human.